In today's tutorial, let's do the poncho for you and me. This is a girl's and doll size poncho. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the poncho for you and me, and this is a doll size version poncho that has the kid size matching poncho all within one pattern. So I'm going to be talking about this pattern because there are 4 different sizes available: 2 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, and then a separate set of instructions is for the doll. In both of these particular examples, the child size and the doll size are similar in the way that they're made. The only difference is that the calculation of dimensions are different. So today I'm going to talk about, as we begin, what you're looking at in the pattern, and I'm going to be demonstrating the doll size version of this because it is the smaller size, because all the concepts are the same. The only difference is that you have to read on the pattern of what those differences are. So for example, on the ribbing here front, the child size says that it's 10, but when it comes to the doll size it says that it's 6. So it's just a slight differential between the measurements and the chains in order to start, but once you get it started it's really quite easy to be able to follow. So before we dive into the pattern more, you're going to need a 6.5 size K crochet hook today, and you're also going to need a Bernat Super Value yarn. This is a pretty inexpensive poncho to make, and you'll find that it goes pretty good, and the Bernat Super Value certainly goes a long way. So you can see the ball counts that you have here, and in the doll size it's only 1 ball that you'll need, and then if it's the 2 years you'll need 2 balls, 4 years of age 2 balls, and then if it's a 6 years of age you'll need 3 balls. So it's pretty inexpensive to make one of these particular projects. So this makes it a really great project to work with. You'll notice that they're wearing buttons. There's a total of 4 buttons, and you can improvise on those buttons as well. Let me blow up this photograph and I'm going to show you, but let me talk a little bit more about what you're looking at for the instructions. So let's talk about the instructions, and you'll notice that there, if you've printed it in color, you'll notice that 2 years of age is represented by this color, and then 4, and then 6. So what's going to happen is that there's a total of 3 different sizes. So you'll see that there's a number and then parentheses of actually what's inside. So 18, 19, and 21, and you'll see that these numbers match each other when you're going to work with them. So for example, let's just say that we're doing the front here. It says chain 1, work 45, 49, 53. So you have to choose the one that is matching the size. So what I like to do for myself is that I like to take a highlighter and just highlight instructions that make sense for me. So if I was going to do the 2 years of age, I would highlight the 45, and then I would just go down, and every time you see that there's more items in parentheses, I would highlight the number that you want in order to do it, because it's so easy to kind of go off the track and sometimes get it wrong. So that's the way that they're doing. So if there's no parentheses, like here it says chain 10, and you don't see any parentheses all here, that means that it's the same for all of them. And then you'll see in the instructions it says measure until it gets to 18, 19, or 21 inches. And 18, 19, or 21 is a set of instructions to telling you how long you're supposed to go, and it's based on the size of dimension that you're going to go. So that's just the variation, and you're going to need to refer to this. But let me take you to the second page, because that's where the doll pattern starts. So the doll is completely different from each other, and you'll see that you have the doll's poncho. It starts off, and so the doll's poncho is all completely different set of instructions. So you will not see any parentheses in here because the doll sizes don't change. They're all pretty much standard for that particular doll style. So I have highlighted, as I promised you, things that were critical to me in order for me to teach you to learn. And don't be scared to highlight any of your patterns in order to work. So let's talk a little bit about the order in which this is made. So here's a blown up version of the child and the doll size. The only difference is dimensional. There's no difference between the dolls in order of stitch work, and the order in which things are done are completely identical as well. So we're going to have a front panel, and she's got a back panel, and the front panel and the back panel look identical to each other. There is a slight variation, about 7.5 inches up from the neck here, or up from the bottom here. There's a difference to handling the neck. That's completely normal in clothing. And then the back panel looks exactly identical, including the ribbing down here at the bottom, and we work our way up. Once we get the back and the front panel done, we then move to a collar, and we make our collar, and the collar is done separately and then sewn to the project afterward. Same thing is happening on the child size. Then once you have the front and the back panel sewn together, and you can sew together the collar on top as well. You're going to do the side ribbing separately and then sew them onto the project after you're done. So basically when you're looking at this, the ribbing here belongs to the front panel, the ribbing belongs to the back panel as well because it's identical, and then the side ribbing is done afterward that you can see even on the child's version, just like so. So this is a kind of an easy way to go, and I want to take you through the ins and outs of now building this, and we're going to go step by step. So to begin today's pattern, I'm going to start off with the starting instructions. We're going to do ribbing, and then this is going to take you to the front panel, and the front panel ends at 7.5 inches before we start doing the neck. And this is important why I'm telling you, and you do the neck and you come, and we're going to cover that in today's tutorial. Now the back is very similar. We start off with the ribbing again and we continue along right here, but the only difference is that this pattern that we're working on now has to continue to 9 inches, not 7.5. So the back works up higher in the back, and then we move down and do the shoulders here, and so there's not very much going on in the shoulders when it comes to the back here. So in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the ribbing first, and then I'm going to show you how to go back and forth, and then I'm going to tell you to do the front panel, and I'm then going to tell you to do the back panel, and both of the panels I'm going to pick up. So the front I'll pick up at 7.5 inches when we get there, and the back panel I'll pick up when it's 9 inches in the back, and carry you through this project, and then we'll start the rest of it from that point. So here is the front panel at the 7.5 mark. It's 7.5 inches from here all the way to here, and then we start the shoulders. But my goal here is to teach you how to do the ribbing here and then take you up. So on the back panel it's going to be from here all the way up here should be 9 inches. So the front stops at 7.5 and the back stops at 9 inches. So once I get you beyond and show you how to do the ribbing here and then take you to the first few steps to here, you're gonna go all the way, and then I'm gonna take you from 7.5 inches then for the front and show you how to finish it, and then in the back I'm gonna take you from the 9 inches and show you how to finish. You can see this is looking pretty good. It looks the same on both sides, and I think it's actually gonna be fabulous when it's done. So as I promised, the side ribbing is not done until afterward, so you're not going to see any side ribbing at this time. So let's begin to show you the ribbing, and grab your 6.5mm size K crochet hook today and your Bernat Super Value yarn, just like you see. So let's begin, and we're going to start off with the slip knot, and for the doll size version we're going to chain 6. Okay, so let's just do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now second chain from the hook, 1 and 2, go to the second chain, turn it around and get the back loop only, and I want you just to slip stitch. So just yarning over and pulling it through and through. That's it. So going back down the next one, just pull through and through, and you're gonna slip stitch yourself all the way through your chain. So if you started off with chain 6 and you went second chain from the hook, that means that there will only be 5 slip stitches going all the way across. So it makes this ribbing quite easy to make. It's quite quick using this size of hook and size of yarn. So continuing to go all the way down, I'm just making sure I'm nice and slow and loose to get myself started, and then I'm gonna speed up to my regular speed. So we're down to the end. Now technically what you do is you turn around and you start the next row. I don't recommend that for this kind of idea, especially when you got slip stitching involved. So what you need to do is turn it so it's directly for you. So I'm right here. I'm looking at it from this point of view, so it's not turned any which way. It's turned straight looking at me. Take the hook and dive right into the first back loop only. So you're only gonna go in back loops. If you're new to crochet, there's 2 strands, okay? So the first strand closest to you is the front loop, the one away from you is the back loop, and together they make what is called a stitch. So let's go into the back loop only. So dive right in, yarn over, pull through and through, and keep moving down that. So just going in, and it's just easier if you go in from this side point looking view instead of turning it around completely, and just continue to go down the back loops of just slip stitching. So for the ribbing, your goal is to get this ribbing a total of 8 inches long. It really doesn't take long. Okay, so there's only 5 there, so you got into the end. So turn it now, okay, so you're looking straight at it, and again diving in just to the back loop, you're gonna slip stitch yourself all the way down. You're gonna need a tape measure, so you'll need to measure that 8 inches and you need to stop when you get to 8 inches. The size of hook matters on this one, so if you're gonna substitute your hook and you're gonna make the hook smaller or bigger, it will change the number of slip stitching rows, which then may alter your pattern. So just continuing to work down. Okay, so I'll just turn it again and straight down. So please do that back and forth until it measures a total of 8 inches long, and then I'll pick you back up and then we'll start. So you're gonna do this for both the front and the back panel, and you do not fasten off once you're done. So you can't just do both of these ribbing by themselves. You have to do them together with the front or the back panel. So once you get to the end of this, you're either gonna pick up and do the front panel or the back at that point without fastening off. So please do that for the remainder until you get your 8 inches, and I'll meet you back here in just a moment. Okay, just a few moments ago I left you here, and it was about 10 minutes in real time for me in order to do this. So I actually have the other one done as far as like the front panel, so I can literally just look over top and see that they match each other as well. Not only can I do the measurement. So the first one you probably want to measure, the second one you could probably lay it over top. It's all good. So now we're going to start the front or the back panel. It doesn't matter because the stitch work is identical going all the way up. For the front panel we're gonna stop at 7.5 inches from this point all the way forward, and then the back we're gonna stop at 9 inches. So, but let me show you how to get started, and this is where I've left off, and now we're gonna work across the back here. So we're just gonna continue along. We're not gonna fasten off, but just stay tuned and I'll show you how to do that next. So let's begin to work up the panel. So this is where I am, and I've been doing all my slip stitching, whatever. Now I want you just to turn, and I want to work along the edge of the side that I'm already currently on. So I'm going to chain 1, and into the very same one in the side there I want to put in a single crochet. So my goal is that I need 21 single crochets all the way down to the end. So that's considered 1 of 21. So you want to just kind of squeeze them in, but here's a tip. You can probably go in between what appears to be ribbing. So if that's 1, just right in there. The next one is 2 and 3. I'll do this live on camera. That was 1, 2 and 3 and 4 coming in next, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 13 and 14. Oops, this was gonna be 14. Now it is 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18. See, I'm just gonna try to squeeze it in there. So this is 19. And see, I got a little bit extra left, so I'm just gonna come over to here, and 20, and then the very final one will be 21. So you can squeeze it in a little bit if you have to at the very end in order to make it work. So that was 21 going all the way across just like this. So let me explain something, because if you remember in this certain directions I actually highlighted something and I want to point that out to you. So we're here back on the instructions, and I'm about to do the first row, which we just did 21 single crochets, and this is for the front and the back, and it says second row here and third row. But I want to point out to you is that when we were just doing this last one, this is the right side, so this makes it the wrong side, right side. Do you get that? So this is right side, this is wrong side. So what I want to tell you here is that we're going to continue to do repeating of rows 2 and 3 over and over and over till we get 7.5 inches for the front side. The back will be 9, but it ends on the wrong side row. That's why I highlighted that. Do you see that? So this is row number 2. So once you're finished off row number 2, and it looks like this, chain 1, 1 single crochet in the next single crochet, and etc. This is the wrong side. So before you carry on in the front side of shaping the neck, you have to end on the wrong side, just like the back. So even though we go to 9 inches tall, we're going to end on the wrong side, which is row number 2. This is so important in order to keep your pattern in balance. So now as we begin to go to the top, every other row is identical to each other. So we just go 1 2 1 2 all the way up there. In this case it's 2 and 3 2 and 3 2 and 3. So you're going to notice it has a bit of texture in here because what we have is single crochet double, single double, single double, and in the next row where it's single it turns into a double, and where it's double it turns into a single. So it goes opposite to each other to give this beautiful look, just like you see of the texture that you see that the girls are wearing in the model shots. So let's begin and I'll show you how to do that. So let's begin row number 2. So we're just gonna go along where you just did the single crochet. So you're gonna go back and forth. So this is the straggler, happens to be on this side of it. I'm gonna bury that as I go. So row number 2 we're gonna chain up 1 first and leave this straggler down on top, and you can bury that underneath, and in the first stitch you're gonna single crochet. So in the next stitch if we go single double all the way to the end, the next one will be a double crochet. So that means the next one is a single. Do you get that? Next one is a double. So you just got to remember what you're doing here in order to do it. So this is single and double. So please do single double all the way to the end. The last one, if you've got your stitch count properly, will end in a single crochet. You'll always remember that the very first one, if it's a single that you started here, it'll end in a single on the other side. So in the next row it starts off with the chaining 3, which counts as a double, therefore the other side will end in a double. And if you can remember that, it'll help you keep balanced. So again, just single double all the way to the end. So I'm coming up close to the end. I'm keeping those numbers consistent in order to stay in balance. And so what I need to do is that I need to concentrate on everything and making sure that the final ends in a single crochet, and I'm only keeping that in balance to the pattern. So let's turn our work and go for row number 3. So row number 3 is opposite to what is sitting here. So I just finished with a single crochet, therefore I have to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then the very next stitch is a single because there's a double right directly below it. And this is what creates that texture. So the next one, do you see how that there's only one strand that goes across in the next one here? So this is a single and a double. Look at it. You can see it. So if you're ever confused, you can just say, okay, yeah, that's a double. No problem. I can that's a double crochet there because it's a single strand. This one here, there's a lot more going to it. That must be a single crochet. Okay, but it is single double all the way down. Okay, do you see that? So this one's got a lot more to it, so that therefore that's a double. This one's not so much to it, so that's a single. So we put in a double over top of a single, and the next one is just one single over top of a double. And you keep doing that all the way down, and this will conclude row number 3. So please do that, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So jumping ahead to the very last section here, so the last section of this one, because it's row number 3, will be a double crochet in the final stitch, and it just happens to work out anyway, so I'm not having to think about that. It is what it is. So turning around, we're going back to row number 2 again. So row number 2 is the wrong side, so remember after 7.5 inches you want to be finishing off on row number 2, and even 9 inches in the back panel you want to finish off on row number 2. So we start off at chain 1 single into the top. Now here, see the last one was a double crochet, so it's a single right over top, and then we keep moving down. So again, do you see how it's just very simple underneath? So that's a single and this is a double. So if you see a single, it means it's got to be a double, and if you see a lot more going to it, that's a double, it's got to be a single. And you're gonna do that all the way down. So I want you to repeat rows number 2 and 3 over and over and over, ending on row number 2 at the 7.5 inch mark, and do not fasten off because we're gonna carry on. And if you're doing the back panel, go all the way to the 9 inch mark and don't fasten off, and we're gonna carry on from that particular point in order to finish off the back panel. So I'll see you at the end of that, and this is not so hard, and you're gonna see that you're gonna fly along pretty quickly on this. So I'll see you at that point. So I'm now at the part of the tutorial where I have the front panel and the back panel almost done, but I got to finish it off, and you'll notice that there's a height difference. So I had you stop at 7.5 inches for the front here, and this one's at 9 inches for the back. So in the back here I left on a little bit of extra yarn here, and I did it for both of them so that I could do them without having to break into another yarn ball. So on the back panel I just have to do one more row, and then that's completely done. And then in the front here I have to grow this up a few more, but I have to create an indentation for the neck. And so what we're going to do now in this part of the tutorial is that I'm going to take you through the front, and then I'm going to take you through the back. So let's begin the front panel. I'm finishing it up near the shoulders and the neck area. So as we move up into this area here, we're going to create what is like a, an extension to the panel. So we're going to come up slightly like this on one side, and then we're going to do the other side. So we're going to do them both individually as we go. So what I want you to do is that this is where we've ended. I want you to just to turn your work. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to play and we're going to crochet ourselves to roughly about here, and then we're going to go back and forth. So it's only 3 rows that you have to do. Then what we're going to do then is skip a certain amount of stitches and then repeat exactly what we've done over here, but on this side instead. And so we're going to be able to grow it up. So it's almost going to be like looking like a vest once we get this section done. So let's pull up the pattern and let's get going, and we're going to continue the pattern as is. And so it says to repeat the pattern across. So where we left off, if you remember, it was single crochet right at the end. So therefore we're going to start off with a chain 3 and then single crochet in the next, and we keep doing that for 7 stitches before we turn around and go back in the other direction. So let's begin. So let's begin row number 1 of shaping the neck, and this is just the first side that we're gonna do, and we're gonna repeat the pattern across 7 stitches. So we just have to make sure that we just continue along. So let's begin, and we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and as I just mentioned, it's just because we single crocheted underneath that this row here is the next one with starting with double crochet. Okay, so let's count our stitches, and I'm doing the pattern as normal. So the next one is a single crochet, that's for 2, and then we just double crochet for 3, single for 4, double crochet for 5, single crochet for 6, and double crochet for 7. So there's our 7 across, but wait, there's something more that needs to be done, and it says half double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. So the next 2 we're gonna do a half double crochet 2 together. So just wrap the hook going into the next stitch, pull through, pull, and then wrap the hook again and go into the very next stitch, pull through, and then you're gonna pull through all 5 loops, and that's a half double crochet 2 together. And then it says to turn. So that's gonna create like a angle going up. So let's turn our work and go for row number 2. So it says row number 2 chain does not count as a stitch. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna chain 2, and it says half double crochet over the next 2. So just wrapping the hook coming into the first one, pull through, and wrapping the hook coming into the next one, pull through. 5 loops you got on the hook, pull through all 5. So this is gonna create more of an angular shape again in the neck, which is what you're looking for. And then it says pattern to the end of the row. So where are you for the pattern? See, if you're looking at it and you remember, there's not much going on here. So this is a single crochet, there's a lot going on here. This is a double. So the very next one then would be a double, and the next one is a single, and you keep doing that all the way to the end. So double and single and double, and the final, see that's a double crochet, is going to be a single. So that was row number 2. So let's turn and work and do the final row, and we're gonna repeat the pattern to the last 2 stitches only. So if this is a single that we just ended with, we're gonna chain up 3, which is your double, and then we're going to single into the next, and you keep doing that repeat pattern until you get to the final 2 stitches, and you're gonna do half double crochet 2 together as well. And then that will complete this side of the front of the outfit, or of the poncho. So this is a final 2 here, so these are gonna be half double crochet 2 together. Just like that, and pull through, and that's it. Okay, so what you need to do at this time is that we need to fasten off. So what I would do at this point is just grab your scissors, just leave a little bit of an extra longer tail for yourself, and I would probably leave it so that you could sew it directly to the neighbor in the back. So just leave enough yarn that you can possibly do that, and just pull through like this. So if you remember, we started on this side and we went back and forth. So when we go to start the next side, we need to start right here and then go this way. So we need to be paying attention to that as we go. So let's move on to do this side of the front of the poncho. Okay, so let's do the other side of the poncho. We're gonna just start some new yarn here, and so we have to basically do everything in reverse. We started on an edge and we came to the neck, and then we went back to the edge, and then we came to the neck. So this time we're starting in the neck going out, and so therefore the instructions are opposite to what you've done over here. So it's just what we have to do, look at it and skip 3 stitches. So 1, 2 and 3, and go into the 4th one over and insert in, and I'm looking at the stitch and I can see that this is a single crochet, so I know that I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the pattern as is. So let's just join it with a slip stitch like that, and I want to chain 2. It doesn't count as anything, but this stitch plus the next one is gonna be half double crochet 2 together. So we're starting the neck, so we're starting with that first this time, and then we continue the pattern all the way to the other side. So the next one here is a single, this is a double, so the next one must be a double. And you notice that I'm burying this yarn as I go. Okay, so you continue along all the way to the edge. Just continuing the pattern so that it looks absolutely seamless. It's so important. I took extra time to show you what the stitches look like, so I'm hoping that you will get that as well, and therefore it'll save you time in the end as well. So let's turn our work and go for row number 2. So row number 2 is that we're going to continue with the repeating of the pattern, except for the very final 2 stitches will be half double crochet 2 together. So if we finished off with the double crochet, that means that we start with a single this time. So single and then double, and I keep doing that pattern until I can physically see the last 2 stitches in this section. This pattern I've been wanting to do for quite some time, but I've been kind of procrastinating because I was kind of scared of it, so in retrospect it was kind of a silly assumption. So I got the final 2 stitches here. Remember the chain 2 doesn't count as anything, and we're gonna put the final 2 together with the half double crochet 2 together there. Okay, so this is row number 2. Turn and work, and let's go for row number 3, which is the final then for the vest. And so we're gonna chain up 2, counts as nothing, and I've already gotten used to this pattern. So the first 2 are gonna be 2 together, half double crochet, and then we carry on in the pattern. So I'm looking at it here, that's a single, this is a double, so the first one must be a double in order to keep everything opposite. And you keep doing that all the way to the end, and that's it. And what I would do then is leave off enough yarn to do the sewing of the 2 pieces together. We're gonna end it with the double crochet right at the top. So that's it. So I'm gonna fasten off, leaving an extra long tail for yarn if I need it. If I don't need it, you know what, it's just an extra foot or so of yarn that you can just use, just toss away without any worry about it. So that's what it's gonna look like then at this point. So I have the top done, and let me back away the camera here. And so I have the front, it looks like a vest at this point. I have the neckline, and now I'm ready to move to the back panel, and then we'll begin to do that next. So let's start on the back panel, and I'm picking it up where I left off. And so we're just gonna turn our work, and it's gonna be very similar to what we did already, but there's only one line across, and then we stop, and then we pick it back up on the other side. So to begin this side here is that we're going to repeat the pattern only for a total of 6 stitches, I believe. Let's just take a look. So repeat pattern across for 6 stitches, and then we skip 9. So we're creating a kind of similar to the front, but we're only doing it with 1 row. So let's look at it. We stopped with the single crochet, so therefore it's gonna be a double crochet to begin, and we only want 6 in a row. So we're just, this is gonna be 2 for single, and double is 3, single is 4, double is 5, and single is 6. That's it. Done. Okay, so that's what you have here, and if you look at it from the other point of view, see, this matches the top just like that. Okay, so let's fasten off this yarn, and let's bring it back on again, and we want to keep it at the same visual that you're having now, so do not turn your work, and I want you to skip 9 stitches. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So skip 9 and go to the 10th over, and there should only be 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's begin again. So just starting with another fresh start of yarn, and you're gonna repeat the pattern as you go. So I've just put my hook into a single crochet. So I'm just gonna attach it with the slip stitch, and I'm gonna chain up 3, and the next one will be single. Sorry, actually I've attached it to a double crochet, so I've just noticed it because I'm visually looking at for it. So I've attached it, and now I'm gonna single crochet right into the first one, and I want to just kind of just take a look at something else that I kind of noticed as I was coming along. See how I finished with a single crochet on this side? This one should start with a single crochet in order to keep balance. So that was another clue that I was wrong. So I started off with a single, so therefore it's gonna be double, and I'm not counting, I'm just repeating the pattern right to the end. So single and double, and then single, and then finally with the double, and I was burying that end in as well, and that's it. So the back panel would be completely done at this point, and you're gonna fasten off your yarn, and I'm leaving an extra long yarn tail for now, and I can deal with that later. So that's what it looks like. It's not too big of a drastic difference of having these little notches, but when you put the other one right above it, you can see there is the hole for the doll head. So before you go any further, what I would like you to do is that I would like you to assemble the front and the back together. Now I had you leave extra long tails on either side. You can deal with these as you go. So what I want you to do is just look at it from this point of view and just put them opposite to each other. And if you notice that one side looks more different than the other, then just make sure that it does match. So this kind of looks like it's the same side, and I'm just using it as an example of just looking at how it looks down here. So what I want to do is that I want to put the pieces together just like this, and there's 6 stitches near the top, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna finish off one side completely, and I'm gonna use the darning needle for the other side just to put things together. So this is the shorter one of the two. So I'm just gonna pull this through, and because if this is the child size that you're working on, you're really gonna want those ends to be in nicely because it is a visual thing even for the doll. And so you're gonna want to hide in the loose ends right into the basic stitches here, and if you go in and out 3 times, you can always hide your yarn and it will never fall out on you. So just go back and forth 3 times underneath the stitching so you don't affect the seam line, and make sure that you don't reef on it so that it's too tough. And then just snip your yarn. So now that strand's gone. So I'm gonna use the remaining strand on the other side to be the one that sews together. And what I would do is recommend a whip stitch for this in order to put things together. So just putting on your yarn, and just simply just go right directly across the road. So this is where it's attached, and I'm gonna go directly across the road and bring it together, and just come back over to this side, go to the next stitch, go to the next stitch on this side, and just come across, and you're gonna work your way down the seam line just matching the stitches, and you should have the same count on both sides of the shoulder. So I want you to do this concept with the other side as well, and sewing things together, and then we're gonna move on to the collar and then to the side seam, or to the side ribbing. So once you get all the way to the neck there, that's it, you're stopping. And so basically just put in your hook back and forth 3 times. Sorry, it's not a hook, it's a it's a darning needle. So just do that. Took me the longest time to remember not to call a crochet hook a needle when I first started teaching on YouTube. So just back and forth like this. And so without turning the project around as far as flipping it, you want to do the other side just like this. So just pick it up and do this side of the project. Again, looking for which one is shorter if you left a shorter one. So this one's shorter, so I'm gonna finish this. So I'm gonna finish this out, and then I'm gonna use this to sew together, and then I'll be back, and then we'll carry on in this tutorial. Okay, so now I'm back. Both of my seams are done, and you can see that this is what it will look like now. So you see that the back goes up further on the inside here, but what's missing on this? So we're missing the side ribbing here, and we're missing the beautiful turtleneck top. So what I want to do now is that I want to make the ribbing for the top. The ribbing for the side is the same concept as well as the ribbing for the turtleneck. So let me show you this. I worked on this last night. So here is my neck section here, and I don't need to show you this concept, but I will tell you a little bit about it. It's the collar. It's chaining 16 and then single crochet or slip stitching back and forth. So slip stitch, slip stitch it. Now how long does it say? It doesn't say. So what you have to just do is that I took a rough guess when I was doing it, and what you want to do is that you need to make it long enough so that it fits loosely around the circumference of the neck area. Okay, so I just took a rough guess of 10 inches last night when I did it, and that actually takes me to the whole circumference. So I want it to be loosely. I don't want it to be to the point where I'm already stretching it in order to get it to that, because then if it's already stretched, you're never gonna get it over a doll's head or even a child for that matter. So you want it to be so that it's just relaxed and it matches the same distance here. So we're gonna do that. So then you can do that and you can leave it to the side. Then what you have to do is the side ribbing. So the side ribbing matches this particular length. I've already done that as well. So the side ribbing here was chaining of 8, and so you chained 8 to begin, and then you just roughly match it. So in this case I've just got a few more rows to do. I took a rough guess last night. You can see I'm just slightly short. I wanted to get it right to the end, because if I stretch this now it's gonna cause the project to buckle. So I want it just to be relaxed. So I want to do 2 of these, and I have done 2 of these. I did these last night, and I just took a rough guess. So this one, actually this one's perfect when I look at it from this point of view. Okay, so do you see how it matches? And so I want to then sew this edge together as well as this edge to this project. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish off, and I'm going to get this just roughly to another inch long, and then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna sew the neck piece on, and then it's done. So you can notice that there's buttons on the side, and they're closer to the bottom of the poncho. Those are not functional. Those are just there. They're accenting. So if you don't want to use buttons, you just want to tack in the area down here at the bottom in order to bring it into balance. So I'm gonna show you how to sew on the collar next, but I want to finish this first before I go any further. Okay, so off camera I just finished this, but what I want to do before I just finish off the yarn, I want to leave an extra long tail that can actually sew this all completely together to this panel without having to restart a brand new yarn line or a brand new yarn strand. So I'm just leaving an extra long tail, and I'm just going to pull it through, and I'm doing this not only for the side panel section here, this side, as well as I'm doing the same thing with the collar. So it just allows you to save time if you have the yarn strand already attached to be able to work with it. So let's continue. Let's show you how to attach the collar. So let's begin to attach the collar, and I'm just gonna finish this yarn strand because I was just testing, and I made sure I'm leaving enough that I can use it to sew directly to the project. So what I'm gonna do for myself is that I'm gonna put the seam at the back of this. So this here is the front, this is the back. So I'm going to start off in the back section just like this. So let me grab my darning needle, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna do a whip stitching as well on this. Now I have not turned the sample over, so this is the side I was doing the whip stitching. So I want all the stitch work of attaching to be on the same side, so therefore I can flip it the other way if I wish. So what I'm just gonna do is that I'm going to attach and just come into the roughly to the center of this panel here, and I'm going to join on this. So what I want to do is just kind of move along each one of the stitches that are in the collar as well, like not only like in the collar of this sample here, and just kind of roughly going in between these ridges that you see here. And I just want to take my time, and I want to just kind of go around, and then once I get all this done around, I'm gonna then sew this together in the back, and therefore it'll be nice and hidden when the doll's wearing it, or if the child's wearing it, depending on which size that you're working on. So just go around the collar and just do your whip stitching in order to attach your collar at the end. And let's I'll see you back here in just a moment. So now that I'm back all the way around, the whole collar is now attached, and this is the back of the poncho, and all I'm just gonna use is the same yarn strand. Now I haven't cut anything off, and I'm just going to use it, and I'm gonna whip stitch the back of the collar together, and I'm just matching each stitch together in order to do that, because the reality is that it's the same width all the way throughout the collar. So that's what you're going to do. So when you get to the end of this, you're going to fasten off. Use that technique of burying the yarn in back and forth 3 times in order to make it work, in order to have a seam line that is flawless, but also that you don't have any yarn tails hanging out of your work. So see you at the next part of this, and we're going to do a whip stitching up the side seams, and then this project is near complete at this time. So my collar is now complete. I rolled it down just like it does on the model. You can see it's nice and loose, so you can get the head through. And now we're gonna just lay it back out, and now we're gonna do the side seam. So this collar will be sticking up. So the side seams are very easy. It's the side ribbing, and I'm just gonna start on one side and just match it directly to the other side. So I'm just gonna use the whip stitching technique in order to attach all the way down to the side. And it's just really quite easy, and therefore this project would be then complete unless you want to attach buttons right to the side ribbing. So again, just using the same strand that I showed you, just going into the project and then into the side, and just roughly match it with whip stitching. Also, this is the same side of doing all the other stitchings, so I can turn this inside out then, or inside right or outside right when I'm done with this, so that if at least I'm consistent with the stitch work, that it all stays on one side, just in case it does look any different for you. So just whip stitch yourself all the way down the side. Just keep an eye, if you're doing this, keep an eye that this doesn't at the end get like this. So if that means that you're grabbing too much, so just keep an eye on that, making sure that it's all being pretty consistent as you're going all the way down to the side. And I'll see you back here in just a moment. So off camera I worked and I put the seam together on both sides, and now that's it. So the nice thing about it is that you just have to fold it up now, and you can tell which is the front side and the back. And if you just look at it, I'm gonna flip it so that it's gonna be the opposite side. So all the stitch work happened on this side of the project. So I'm just gonna flip up the collar and just toss it the other way around like so. And now I'm looking at the good side, and this is neat. So I'm really quite excited about this particular pattern. I'm looking for the front of it, which is right there. See how it kind of leans up just like that. And so the decorative buttons that are on the doll, including the kit size, are just decorative. They're not there for any particular reason, for functionality, and you just have to sew them, and you sew them right directly through the thicknesses of each other. So just make sure you match it up so that it has a nice flat seam at the bottom. And then the doll has 2, and then the child also has 2. So you just have to measure it up just to make sure that there's enough space for the child's arms to come out of the poncho if you wish. And this is a really neat concept. So this is the front, and this is the back. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the crochetcrowd.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is the poncho for you and me, and it's a free pattern available on yarnspirations.com. Have a great one. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.